Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Hey, we're coming here with another great podcast. We certainly appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks for being here. To see the video version of this, go to youtube.com/Chris Voss. Hit the bell notification, all those wonderful things we're doing over there. Also, go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss. You'll see everything we're doing there as well. And also go to all of our groups on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all those different places. You can see all the stuff that we're doing. Today we have an old friend of mine. He's not old per se, but we've been friends for a long time. So it's the vernacular, I suppose. Is it the way one would say it? In the vernacular. We'll be talking to him today. He is David Solomon, Vice President of Qobuz. And I've known him through so many iterations of his career. Welcome to the show. How are you doing, David?
Doing great. It was a bit of a scramble because day before yesterday we heard this big lightning clap,
Oh,
big
yeah?
thunderclap, huge lightning. And I come downstairs. I had just about finished work, so I really didn't care. Uh, no problem. It seemed like everything was okay. The next morning I get up and realize that the storm had taken out all of my switches. So I'm
Oh,
typically in my office. If you've ever seen me on the Qobuz live broadcast on Thursday, I'm typically in my office with a big drum set back here and my whole, office set up, and it's just like the coolest place in the world. So about 30 minutes ago, I started just scrambling. So I ran downstairs, hooked up another computer, hooked it up directly to the router that's down here, so I wouldn't be cutting out. So yeah, outside of that, things are going great. Listening to a lot of music, having a lot of fun working at Qobuz, and being somewhat entertained by all of the chatter that goes around.
audio, audio. So tell us, for the layman out there, for the people who aren't familiar with Qobuz, tell us what Qobuz is, what do they do, and maybe affiliate them with some of your, if you want to name your competitors, so people know what field you guys run in.
Yeah, we don't have any competitors.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's true. A good point.
We got tons of
Who's the
competitors.
people who want to be Qobuz who are
It's
trying really
been
hard?
such an incredible ride with Qobuz. It all started, years and years ago when, uh, Pandora and Spotify and Mog and all of
You
these
skip
other,
Napster. No, I'm just kidding. I'm
Napster.
just kidding.
There was just so BitTorrents. I mean, this industry was in just absolute infancy for years and years. And then in 2014, I was lucky enough to launch another streaming service here that was the first full resolution streaming service, which was Tidal. Had a
Hmm.
great time doing that until Jay-Z bought it out and decided that I didn't really fit the posse.
Hmm.
So he, yeah, we're not going to need you anymore.
He should have
And
kept you.
so after that, I had been, super interested in streaming forever. I opened a little company called Peachtree Audio years ago, and that was kind of we knew that's where things were going. Eventually, we knew that things were going to go to a full or high res stream. So we put like kind of all of those eggs in that basket. So it was like it's been a really cool career. Then I went to work for Qobuz. Met those guys in Munich at the Munich show. Which, by the way, if you ever get to go to an audio show in the world, Chris, that is like without a doubt by leaps and bounds the coolest audio show in the world. So I met those guys at at the Munich show, and they invited me to come to Paris for an interview, and went there and they got the job with Qobuz to launch my second full res streaming service, except this time it was going to be high res.
Mm.
So now we've gone from Napster at, oh Lord knows what bit rate those guys were going at. Definitely probably
Two.
192 max, maybe 256 kilobits per second max, all the way up to over 9,200 kilobits on Qobuz. So we do full bit perfect, full and high resolution, all the way from 1644 to 24192. We're the first guys that kind of gave up the whole MP3 thing. We're going,
Mm-hmm.
there's no reason for MP3, so why even talk about it? Why offer the service? There are so many services that are offered, um, that are compressed, that we're going, this isn't us. I mean, I'm so proud of this decision. So about, I guess it was like 2 years now, we made an announcement at the New York Audio Show that we were no longer going to be supporting MP3. So
No.
now it's literally 1644 all the way up to 192, and it's, if you understand digital at all, it's all bit perfect. So it's exactly, the ones and zeros that the studios deliver to us. Those are the same kind of, that's the same kind of performance that we deliver to the general public. Which, for someone like me, for somebody like you, Chris, it's like, you open up a program and all of a sudden you've got, 70 million tunes and CD up to high res. If you're anything like me, you're pinching yourself pretty much every single time you open up the program. So that's what we do. It's really, really the highest quality recordings that you can get, studio masters, as it were. So yeah, now we got the ability to put more money into our gear
Mm-hmm.
than we do our music collection. If you remember, years and years, for at least most of my life, the biggest expense to my music system was my software.
Mm-hmm.
Thousands of albums, thousands of CDs. And I mean, that starts, adding up after a while. And then, it was like, you remember when you were a kid and you were going, Mom, take me to the record store, because you weren't old enough to drive at that point. And your
I
mom
rode my
said, "Oh,
bike.
yeah, no problem." She'd pop you in the car. You go to the record store. You pick, if you worked really hard that week, you might be able to get like 3 or 4 albums, right?
Yeah.
But most likely you get a couple albums, maybe one. And then it just took so long to build up your collection, and
Oh
so much
yeah.
money. Now we just literally don't have that constraint anymore. It's like, now for like 12.50 a month, you open up a program and you're going, anything I ever wanted in high resolution is here, or most
Yeah.
everything that's in high resolution is here. Um, and now I can put a lot of more money into my audio gear to actually make that sound incredible. So that's Qobuz in a nutshell. We also are really, really heavy into artist support. So
Mm-hmm.
we're the only streaming service that's got a download site. And we encourage you, I certainly encourage you, go buy music from your favorite folks. Everyone knows that streaming doesn't pay a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's support these folks any way you can. So your favorite artist comes out, go buy their new album. We've
Mm-hmm.
got it all available, and they're at really good prices. So we've got that going for us. And then one of our slogans or taglines, as it were, are "We are the music lovers." Nothing could be more true.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone that works at Qobuz is just crazy in love with music. That's what we do. That's who we are, and that's what we're all about. So you see lots and lots of articles and editorials about your favorite artists or bands or groups, or things that are just happening in the music world in general. And those are all handwritten by us, and published for your enjoyment. So, um, as far as size, we're definitely the smallest. We're, we're,
Mm-hmm.
we're definitely the smallest. And a lot of guys go, well, how do you even survive? Well, we survive because there's a lot of music lovers out there that
Mm-hmm.
recognize that's exactly what we are. And we kind of hit them in that sweet spot.
Mm-hmm. So let me clarify too. You guys, out of all the competing services, and we're talking like all of them, including those named after a fruit that begins with A, which is probably appropriate given it's a
Mhm.
fruit. That's how I feel about it. But you guys have the highest resolution of sound files that you're serving out of anybody. Is that, did I nail that right? Or
Pretty much.
Mhm.
Amazon HD. Amazon went to high resolution. That was a couple of years too,
Mhm.
and we just thought, okay, gosh, this is just going to absolutely kill us, because they've come in $5 cheaper than we are.
Mm.
They've got at least as much, if not more, more music than we've got. So, guys, this may be it. Um, we really worked hard. We renegotiated with the record labels, which we don't like to do because that just means less money for the artists and rights holders. It's just not the right thing to do, and we're not on a mad dash to zero. It's crazy. That's kind of a no win game.
Yeah.
But they lowered it to $15, and we really had no choice. So
Mhm.
we lowered our price to $15 as well. And on an annual plan, I think it's like 12.50. But still, we thought, gosh, they're so big. What ended up happening is our subscriptions went through the roof. It was crazy. I think it's because Amazon is just so good at marketing anyway.
Mhm.
And so they said high res, and all of a sudden, or HD, I think that's what they call it, which is another problem I have with people renaming everything, but whatever. But all of a sudden, a whole lot more people knew about higher resolution recording that really ever had.
Mhm.
And as people do these days, they start researching on the internet, and all of a sudden they go, high resolution audio. Oh, Qobuz. Oh, people seem to like that. So we just got this huge influx of people. Uh, Sorry, we just got this huge influx of people that, and then that's the way it kind of continued throughout the pandemic. We just kept going higher and higher and higher, and we're going, wow, this is great. And the cool thing is it's all in the midst of supporting audio shows and actually talking to end users about high resolution. I don't want to be like I'm not a rock star. Right? I'm just some guy that works for this cool company that a lot of people want to know about. So I should be available to answer questions and to interact with those folks and to make music suggestions and to, support the audio and the music industry, which is exactly what we've been doing. And I think that kind of rings clear with a lot of people, Chris. People enjoy other people that really dig what they're doing. They're doing it not necessarily for the coin. They're doing it because we could do a lot of things for the coin. We're doing it for the love of music, and I think people are really realizing that. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. So, this is what's important. It's kind of funny. You were the person who set me up with my title influencer account. Do you know I still have that thing? It
Mhm.
still runs free to this day. But I got a chance to use Tidal when you'd hook me up with it. We've used the IFI audio DACs that they've been sponsored the Chris Voss Show, and they've been just really beautiful. And I've tested MQA folding against with really good decoders and stuff against Qobuz's just the pure Dern file. And yeah, I'm pretty much I don't know if I'm BSing myself, but I swear I can hear a difference in quality. I don't know.
There's definitely a difference,
Mhm.
good or bad. There are a lot of people that will, which I don't really understand this mentality, but there are people that will literally fight you to win their point about Cobuzz or MQA or Apple or Amazon or whatnot. And I'm going, look, guys, as long as you're on one of those services, God bless you. They're all really good. And you also hear people talk about night and day differences. There are very few night and day differences between full resolution files and high resolution files.
Mhm.
You may have a preference, but
So what?
anyone spouting night and day is
Mhm.
it's a ridiculous statement. It's like a 7:30 to 8:30 sometimes.
So let's use
And
this to educate people. Let's talk
yeah,
about what's the difference between a low res file. How do I know that I'm on a low res file service? How do I tell? How do I find it? And what is the difference between 1644 and 24 192? What does that really mean? I think that's what a lot of people just don't understand.
that's such a great question, and this is where I find probably the most misconceptions that we're fighting about this. When I say we, I don't fight about it because it's a stupid fight, but there are a lot of people who fight about theoretical numbers. I'll give you a good example. I was just reading a post the other day,
Hmm.
and they were talking about the, and the engineer guys that don't really understand the depths of digital, not from a number standpoint, but what actually happens in a practical world. Um, they will put out posts like this all the time. 1644 yields 96 dB signal to noise ratio. 24, even 96 yields 144 dB signal to noise ratio. There is no equipment that could ever match that. Yeah, right. But your car will go 160. You don't do that, right? So
Sure.
here's the real deal. The 24 192 or 24, even 48. 24 is the big word there. That's the to me the far more important number here,
Yeah.
the bit depth, right?
Hmm.
And if you got up to let me put it another way. If you've got a 16-bit recording
Hmm.
and you're one of these theoretical guys, you're going to
Hmm.
go, well, they're 1411 kilobits per second. Folks, that is the theoretical limit. If you've ever seen a CD being played and tracked, what you'll find out is that a 1411 CD really tracks around 500, 600. You get a really good one, it's going to maybe hit 900, but it's variable. This isn't a 1411 constant. 1411 would be its absolute highest performance, sort of downhill with the wind behind its back.
Hmm.
So, as a recording engineer, to actually record into 1644, you have got to be really, really good. There are a few of those out there, but there were many more bad recordings in the digital recordings in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s up to about 2010 than there were good recordings.
Hmm.
But now, if you start listening to the way things are being recorded now, the bottom end, the top end extension, the dynamic range that they can get on these things, if they're really in that mode, like some of the classical engineers and whatnot, they're 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 unbelievable because they don't have to stick to that 16-bit format. So, in other words, if I wanted 1411 kilobits per second, I would have to do a 24, at least 48 recording, so that at the end of the day, I would be hitting 1411 or 1600 or maybe 1800, but not 600 and
Yeah.
800 and 1000. So really, if you take high resolution to its core, which is where it should be taken for, the biggest difference is going to be from a recording standpoint. Now, if you take this awesome recording, let's say a Billie Eilish tune, right? Phineas and Billy, they blow me away. Um, Two young folks that make recordings that just sound like they just came out of $1 million studio, and they're in her bedroom, right, with the DAW, making these recordings, but they're making them in 24-bit, and they're making these great recordings. Or then you look at London Grammar, or I mean, there's just so many folks out there. Little Dragon, all of these recordings that are coming out today that hit this like sub bottom end note. You could not do that unless you were a crazy skilled engineer 20 years ago, right? I know we were looking for those kinds of tunes to demonstrate audio with. Pardon me. So every now and then you would find one. You would find somebody that's really, really great at recording 1644, like a Bill Schnee.
Hmm.
Bill recorded all the Steely Dan stuff, Asia, and all of the stuff that really got all of these killer recordings. Right. One of the things Bill said to me, as a recording engineer with what well over 500 albums and countless Grammys. I think he's got like 50 Grammys or something for his
Yeah.
incredible recording. Bill Schnee said to me, David, the first time I ever heard a band from behind the glass that sounded like they were in front of the glass was the first time I recorded in 24 192.
Yeah.
And I'm going, really? I mean, you've recorded on some of the best analog gear in the world. How about some of those like Studers or Ampex that you used to record on? See, like I'm just like I'm an amateur compared to Bill, right? I mean, I look at these Studer, these, multi-thousand-dollar Studer, huge multi-track decks, and I'm going, oh my God, I would love to have one of those. So Bill says to me, he goes, yeah, they're fine, but every single time the capstan clamps down on the tape and it transfers or it plays, there's a degradation. Because that
Yeah.
just does not happen in digital. So some people enjoy the degradation. Some people enjoy that analogy sound. And I say, God bless them. I've got a DPI Prime right here. I like it too. It's fun.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
yeah, digital has come
yeah.
a long way. And the high resolution is really, really for the recording engineer. But now you are lucky enough to be able to hear exactly what they hear
Yeah.
with one of these albums. If that's not important to you and you're more of a casual listener, my wife is a total casual listener, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, high res is not necessary. You could just go to Spotify and you'd probably be happy. But if you're looking for that last inch degree of resolution that the engineers have recorded on the session, then we're a great place to get it.
So let's educate some people some more here. The bits are important because that's the bits of data that are being sent forth with the quality of music. And so 16 bits is 16 bits, but 24 is, well, more. It's not quite double, but it's more. So you're getting more bits, more quality of sounds being fed to you. Um, if I understand that correctly. In fact, a funny story. I don't know if I told this to you, Bill. We were honored to have him on the show, thanks to you. He comes on the show, and I'm like so happy to talk about Steely Dan, my second favorite band in the world next
You
to
don't want to talk
Metallica.
about
And he goes, I don't want to talk about it. I'm sick of talking about Steely Dan. I'm like, this is on your PR thing. So we do the whole show. We end up getting into Mark Knopfler, which he's worked with a lot, who I'm a huge fan of. Turns out he was the guy who produced and or engineered a couple Dire Straits things, including On Every Street, which to me is just sonically beautiful. It's one of those albums like Steely Dan where I don't think I ever knew what the words were for like 10 years. I was like, I should probably learn these words. Like, what do the words mean of this song? Like, it's just so, like, from front to back, it's just sonically pure. And we get done, we wrap the show, I turn off the recorder. Guess what he talks about for the next half an hour?
Steely Dan.
Steely Dan. I love him. He was awesome. We sent him a mug. We need to send you out a Chris Voss Show mug, David. We need to hook you up. So what is lossless? Why is this important? Well, first, I want to make one point to people. When you're looking at your music files, whether they're on any competitor or Qobuz, you want to take a look at that bit rate and what the kilohertz is. The kilohertz, did I have it right? You want to look at that because technically, the difference between a 24 192 is like a 4K or 8K TV. And if you're listening to a 1644, you're on like an old 360 TV from like 1980. Maybe the one with the antennas. Maybe it's black and white. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
Am I
know.
being overly mean?
Yeah, and well, maybe a little. It may be overstating it a little bit, but that is absolutely the idea.
Yeah.
Um, like I say, 1644 can be really, really great if
Yeah.
you start off with a 1644 master, a 1411 master. The problem is there's just none of them that do that, and unless you're a Bill Schnee or a Cookie Marenko or one of those people that just gets every single thing you can out of a 16-bit recording, why do it? Give yourself the headroom. This is the thing that I'm talking about. I probably didn't explain this very well, but headroom is important in anything that you do. So in other words, if these speakers over here, if they take, if they take 50 watts to drive them, I don't want to use a 50-watt amplifier. I probably want to use a 100-watt amplifier or a 150-watt amplifier so that when it does get to that 50 watts, it's still super clean. It's exactly the same in recording. If you're a recording engineer and you're having to peak up to 16-bit, that's a peak. You're recording this down here, right? Nothing can peak above 16, or it's going to digital clip, and you sure don't want to hear that. That's a horrible sound. So everything is somewhere under the mark, right? Up under that mark. But when you go to 24-bit, now the mark goes up here. So
Mhm.
you don't necessarily record louder, but you've got more of a range that you can deal with. As a recording engineer, you've got more headroom. If this
Mhm.
were a car and you were driving top speed 70, um, your car would be able to go 140.
Mhm.
It would be able to go 120. You always want headroom in every single thing that you do, and recording is absolutely no exception at all, as proven by the last 5 years. Chris, you've never heard better recordings. You might not dig the music, but oh my God, what if Phineas would have been able to record Led Zeppelin
Oh, dude.
in Billy's bedroom, right? We would have the best Led Zeppelin recordings. It would
That or
have been
Billy would end up pregnant by Robert Plant. So I'm not sure how that would work out.
you
That sounds like
understand.
that's going to end badly. Yeah, but or good. I mean, it might end up. I mean, God bless what that child would be. I mean, what an artist or something. I don't know. So, I want to educate too. So, why is lossless and bit perfect important? Like, you guys deliver bit perfect. You guys deliver lossless type music. Um, even with my IFI audios, there's two Burr Brown DACs in there, chips, and then it makes sure that passes through, including with my Rune. Why is that important? Why should I care?
Once again, if you're a music lover and you want that detail, you probably don't want lossy music. Lossless is exactly what it says. There is no loss. It's minus of loss. It's exactly what was delivered from the studio. Now you can take lossless and make it lossy, right? Like uh, Bluetooth. You take a Qobuz signal that's say 1644 or 2448 or 24192. You run it through Bluetooth, and I don't care what anybody tells you about LDAC or the new Bluetooth or whatever. Bluetooth is capped at about 500 kilobits per second. That if you remember our discussion before, CD is 1411. So while Bluetooth sounds darn decent and a whole lot better than FM back in my day, it's not even close to full resolution files, much less high resolution files. So you're just dealing with less information. And
Mhm.
if you go to really what that means, maybe in a little different way, Chris, high resolution is nothing more than millions and millions of tiny details.
Mhm.
That's what it is. Now, when you put all those millions of tiny details together, all of a sudden the music just starts sounding better because it is so much more detailed in every single way.
Mhm.
So yeah, if you're that kind of person that wants sort of unaltered sound, you want to hear what the recording engineer sounded. You want to get to as
Yeah,
close
you
as
want to be on the board, man.
some people do.
Right?
I do.
I
Uh,
do. I mean, so here's the math, David. You guys charge about as much as everyone else charges. Relatively, okay, let's just call it within a dollar or two. I don't know what it is because I haven't sat down and figured it out. But if you're going to pay for something, like if I pay for something, I want the best. I want the highest quality. I don't want I don't want low quality because then I'm not getting the best. And that's why I've shopped around, of course, and tried to get the best quality. And I look at, I go on the competitors that you guys have. They're not really competitors because they don't match your guys' delivery, as we mentioned. But, I look at the resolution. Okay, what's the bit? What's the kilohertz? What sort of files? Is it coming through me through the delivery system? Because a lot of people don't understand, even if you have high resolution on your computer, if you don't have your drivers set up and you're plugging in and stuff, there's stuff that can get, you've got to have like a pure thorough put from front to back. I'd been reading recently that some people's phones, you got to set them up right. I know I have to set up Androids right to be able to get that pureness. But if you're going to pay for it, if you're paying about the same price for all these different services that are out there, why not get the best? That's what I think. Maybe
if
I'm
you're
just a
like if
jerk
you're
that way.
like you and I, it's just a super easy choice, and thousands
Yeah.
of people are making that choice. And what you and I call the best would be the best experience, the best
Hmm.
sound quality. But I don't want to take away from any of the other services because they've all got their little spot, right? If you're if you're more into features than you are the actual in sound quality, I gotta tell you, Spotify does a fantastic job. Does it sound as good? No, it doesn't. But they've got all these cool features, and if you're into that kind of thing, some people would argue, uh, rightfully according to them, that Spotify would be the best choice. If you're into the spatial thing, right? If you're which I'm not at all. I've listened to it my whole life and wanted to love it, but I
Mhm.
just don't. But if you do, and you want to use your little AirPod Pros, or the big new headphones that they've got, Apple's got this head tracking thing, and things come at you from sort of different angles. So if you're into that kind of thing, man, I'm telling you, you will fight people because you think it
Yeah.
sounds so good.
The only problem is you're still running on Bluetooth, which means you're lossy. You're losing data, and
It,
there's nothing purer than a cord, and that's why we're
there
running a
is
cord right here.
no question about it.
Yeah.
However, if you're more into the swirliness than the actual sound quality and what the engineer and artist had in mind, then you may like that. I remember
Yeah.
my very first system was a quad system. That's how old I am.
Yeah. You and me, man.
Yeah, so I
1800
had
LP
a
quad.
Sansui quad amplifier and four Sansui speakers, and stuff was coming at me from every angle. I had no idea what I was doing, but hey, I was having a good time listening to unfocused music. I just didn't know what I was doing, right? But I enjoyed it, when I had it. And then all of a sudden, I went it over to a buddy of mine's house who had an old Macintosh amplifier and a couple of huge Bozak speakers. This was
Mm.
like a throwback system, right? And he said, "Young man, let me show you what this stuff is,
Young
really
man.
supposed to sound like." Yeah, I was young back then. I was like, I
Yeah.
don't know, 18 or
We
so.
still are.
And so I sat down, and he put me on a classical piece. I'm not a classical listener at 18. I wanted to listen to Rush or something, right? He puts he puts his classical piece on, and I'm going, oh my God, that is the most beautiful thing I have ever heard in my entire life. And then he said, "Well, do you see how the flute section sounds like it's two rows back and they're going all across the soundstage?" And I'm going, "Yeah, I do. I do see that." He's going, "Well, do you hear the timpanis and you can tell they're another, 15 feet back?" And I'm listening. I'm going, "Yes, yes, I do." And he says, "So now, just the solo violinist is going to come out in just a second. He's going to be dead center in front of everybody else." And so I started listening to this thing. It's the most real thing that I've ever heard in my life. I immediately became hooked
Yeah.
and tried to learn every single thing that I could about electronics and speakers and placement. My dad and I built a couple of amps and a couple of preamps so I could kind
Wow.
of understand what's going on inside of this stuff. And it just became a real love of mine. But my particular love was trying to reproduce or recreate a performance. And I realized that could never be done in quad.
Hmm.
Not unless you're doing something like Pink Floyd or something where things aren't real. So much stuff isn't real, right?
Yeah.
You're going, okay, well, I dig that. But like when it comes to like real music, give me a good two-channel system any day. And
Mhm.
that's sort of
Well, this
my
is kind of a discussion we were having online. Some people that like the new spatial announcements, and they were claiming that there's multi tracks, so they're taking those multi tracks and putting them through the spatial, and that puts them everywhere. And you were correcting people and saying, no, when it comes to you guys, it's two tracks. When it comes to everybody, it's two tracks
yeah.
from the studio. There's
Yeah,
not.
like on my drums upstairs, I've got, let's see, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven mics. That would be
Mhm.
what your friend would be
Yeah,
all.
yeah. I mean, there's a
all
board, and you've got you've got all the levers there. But in the end, when it's put on the
it's a
tape,
two
and
channel recording.
yeah,
They they take all of the we take all of those microphones. We just get the levels right and the sound right.
hmm,
You want it. this SM57 on a snare. You want that thing sharp and tight and quick, right? But
Hmm.
the big SM on the bass drum, it's for bottom. So you want to make everything sound the same. So your friend that was talking about, people have been making multi-track recordings for years.
Yeah,
So, this whole Apple thing is perfectly logical. I'm going, dude, you're getting multi-channel and multi-track mixed up.
mixed
We've been
up. Yeah,
mixing multi-track for 60 years, 70 years now.
yeah. I mean,
With
even I
multi-channel.
mean, the Beatles at least had a 4-track going on. I think, well, some of it was in mono actually originally. Um,
Yeah, yeah, it
it,
was.
a lot of people don't even understand how the whole concept of recording music works, and unless you've sat down with a board or understood a board, you don't really get it. So there were some comparisons to Spatial being like a movie theater, where it's kind of that same quadrophenia effect that you were having, where you're in a theater and it's being pumped through different sounds and it's coming in through different angles. But a lot of that's an EQ sort of manipulation. I mean, if I have headphones, if I'm in a movie theater, that's a little bit different because it's a large space and there's going to be bouncing off and everything. But if I have headphones or earphones, there's only two speakers in here. I mean, if you give me Spatial, there's not like 50 speakers, inside of here that it's going to be utilizing. It's just screwing with the sound, really, when it comes down to it, like an EQ. Am I wrong?
I think some headphones have got multi drivers in them, but mostly you're
Hmm.
right. It's done
Yeah.
mostly with DSP, digital signal processing,
Yeah. So
which
you're
is getting
screwing with
widely
it.
used these days, right?
So you're manipulating the sound. You're taking the original the pure. Of course, a lot of these services that we're talking about with Spatial, I think there's just one right now. They're not even delivering at the highest rate of audio, and not even the Bluetooth devices that they're selling will deliver at the highest rate of audio. In fact, they tell you that. And
But that's not what they're going for.
yeah,
Apple is counting and they're right. They're absolutely right. They're counting on people being more impressed with the frills
hmm,
than the real thing. That's a
yeah,
solid marketing plan. Apple's not
yeah.
stupid, right?
Well, they're not, but
So if you took, there's this guy out there that takes 16-bit recordings and turns them into 24 not 192, or he takes 24 192 recordings and turns them into 16-bit and goes, okay, now tell me if you can hear the difference. And a lot of people cannot hear the difference because
really,
once it's recorded, which is the
yeah,
most important thing, and you drop it down a little bit, most people aren't going to be able to tell. My contention is why? Why would you even do that?
yeah,
1644 honestly is not even it's not even a real format anymore.
yeah.
What does 1644 go on to? Why is it even discussed anymore? Because it's not as good as
It's old
24-bit recording.
technology.
It's old technology because you had to fit. That's all a 24-bit file at 44.1 would not fit onto a disk. So they
Yeah.
had to go, okay, what are we going to do? We're going to take it down to 16-bit, right?
Hmm.
Which to your point is like a little like a color printer, right? In fact, the numbers line up about the same. Like a 16-bit recording will give you 65,536 different voltages that ones or zeros can line up along the wavelength, right?
Hmm.
Um, like if once you go to like a 4K or better printer, right, you start dealing with millions of colors. That's the kind of thing that same kind of thing. You're dealing like with a 24-bit recording instead of 65,536 different places. You're dealing with well over a million places that you can place the value on the wavelength.
And I don't want to forget to mention this. One of the things I love about the Qobuz app is I can download the music for offline listening, which is really awesome because I don't have to pay the data fees when I go on a drive or I go traveling or something. They're on my phone and they're at the highest bit possible if I tell the settings to do that. So I
That's what
love
I do
that.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I do too. I record. I don't record anything over 2496 on a cell phone. You can choose what you record, what
Hmm.
flavor you record in, and the reason I don't go any over 2496 is because nothing will play it.
Oh, really?
I go, look, let's just stop it at 2496 because nothing will play it anyway.
Hmm.
And let me be like super frank with you. If you're like in a car environment or a plane environment, you're not hearing high res anyway. There's just too much
Yeah.
noise around to do it. But I'm kind of a dweeb when it comes to the files that I listen to. So if it's available in a high res format, I'm gonna download it in a high res format. If
I
it's only
think there
available in 1644, I'll download it in 1644.
I think there was some sort of new app or some sort of new driver that was coming out that could give Androids the jack up when it comes out of out of the thing. I don't know. I'll have
Yeah,
to look into that.
we were just having a meeting about this day before yesterday, a company-wide meeting, and I think the latest thing is that there's a new one coming out that'll do like 2496, and they're
Hmm.
really working on trying to get it to go higher than that. But
Hmm.
honestly, if you're dealing with 2496 on a cell phone, you're doing pretty darn good,
The other
right?
thing is, you're driving down the road. You can't wear
What you don't want to
headphones.
do is you don't want to buy a service for your lowest resolution listening,
Yeah.
right? So even if you can't hear high resolution in the car, I sure can't hear it here,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So I listen to it like on my icons, and I mean, it's so night and day. And if you want to hear a couple of recordings that absolutely you hear the difference between 1644 and 24192,
Hmm.
I got a couple for you. One of them was recorded in 1956 and it was released in 1957. It's a gentleman named Illinois Jacquette.
Hmm.
He's got an album out called The Swing of Things. And I think it's the second or third tune is Harlem Nocturne. We've got that available in 1644 and then in 24192. Here's the cool thing. Before I started with Qobuz, I was buying all kinds of high resolution audio to store on my hard drive because,
Flax.
yeah,
Flax files.
absolutely. So I bought this file, but I bought it for like $50. I mean, it was a pretty expensive record for being a mono record at 24,192, which sounds almost silly. But when you listen to the difference between the 16
Hmm.
bit track, and you could just do this right on Qobuz,
Hmm.
listen to the difference between the 16-bit track and the 24,192 track, and it is absolutely a totally different experience if you're listening to it on a good hi-fi.
And this is what I encourage people to do. They can. I think. Do you guys? Cobuzz offers a. Don't you? They get to test out the service for free, sort of
Yeah.
thing. You guys offer that, like
Uh-huh.
7 days or something, 30 days. I don't
30 days.
remember. 30 days. So I encourage people to go sign up for the service, check it out. Start looking at these data points. Is this a 1644? And the great thing about your service is you're really upfront about it because you want to educate people. You want to know what they're paying for and what they're getting, and there's lots of different versions you offer so they can look at the 1644. And honestly, and it doesn't take expensive DACs, it doesn't take expensive headphones. You can hear it's like night and day. Like I went and tested out a recent service that has Spatial that is fruity. I'll say that. um I was listening to their file of some Steely Dan, and usually one of the favorite files that I tested, I took this from a speaker testing review blog, and they love the file, the Steely Dan album. Um, uh, oh, man, I can't. Yeah, I just went right out my window.
Asia,
Well, Asia's of course a great
it's
recording.
probably Gaucho or Asia. Those are the two.
Gaucho Ace is great recordings, but one of the most sonic, beautiful recordings that they did. I hate to throw Bill under the bus here, but I mean, it was just a timely thing. The Jack of Speed. There's a Jack of Speed. It's off of the album that Steely Dan, Jack of Speed. If you get a chance to listen to Jack of Speed, it's just sonically beautiful, from Steely Dan. And I actually use that when I do a lot of my testing because these guys tested them a lot. Jack of Speed, off of Two Against Nature, which was
That
released in
is okay.
2000.
You hit it.
Yeah,
That is the album I was actually talking
yeah,
about.
yeah, yeah.
We were talking about another one too. Well, the Illinois Jacquette, but the one that you just mentioned. Oh, you can't see that. There's
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't see that. It's yeah, two against nature. The tune I like to Jack of Speed is great. The one that I use for that particular demo, if you want to hear what you can buy in 1644 and then what you can get in high res, I think it's 2496. Um, is Janie Runaway.
Jamie
So
Runaway.
yeah, so if you listen to those two side by side, You will not have to ask why we do high resolution. But I do want to say, record companies, they're all about making money.
Oh yeah.
And I don't want to overstate high resolution that shouldn't be overstated. We've got quite a few albums that were recorded in high res or turned into high res. Maybe some of the older recordings that are okay. They're not that great. They're just okay. And in some instances, you go, well, why did they even bother? Well, they bothered because they wanted to sell more records or whatever. Some records just don't need to be upsampled or reconverted or retaped just because the album wasn't recorded that great to begin with. So in those instances, almost always I look at those as, oh, okay, got it. This is a marketing thing. But then you look at that at other stuff like the Steely Dan that we were just talking about, or the Illinois Jacket that I was just talking about, and there are thousands and thousands more. Those are just a couple of examples. All of a sudden you start going, oh, there really is something to this if you want the very best sound quality. But if I'm expecting every single 24-bit file to sound awesome, totally unrealistic expectations. What you can expect is there's a whole lot of good ones, thousands of really good ones. But I think the better point is that about 90% of everything that we're getting today from record labels is in their native format. It's in the native file format that they recorded it in. So some of them are recorded in 2448, some 24192, and everything in between. But the really cool thing is all of the recordings that we're getting these days, these high resolution recordings, are better than anything that's ever been recorded ever.
So I encourage people to sit down, start educating yourself, understand what lossless is, understand what bit perfect is, understand what, these differences between 16-bit, 24-bit, these resolutions. And like I said, they can use the Qobuz service. You can go on there and you can do the comparisons. And it's like a canyon. Like my friend who was calling me out the other day, and we went and looked at the Spatial Fruity music service. I listened to their file, and to my ears, it was like listening to something in a trash can. It was like I threw a Steely Dan boombox in a trash can and was listening to it out of that thing. And then I went,
It's diffused. That's
Yeah.
a fairly accurate description.
It was like muffled too. It was like really awful. And then I went to Qobuz and loaded up the highest thing that I could get, and it was just beautiful. I mean, it is distinguishable, like I don't know, the Grand Canyon. It's not even close. It's not like you're like, oh, I think I can hear the drums a little bit better. No, it's like listening to something, I don't know, that's coming out of a trash can to something that's really high res, and you're paying almost the same price for it. Right. And that's where the real value is in understanding this is. And I'm a music lover. I'll give a shout out plug. The headphones we always use, Master Dynamics.
Oh, I love those. That's what I use for my in the studio, and anytime I'm playing my drums, those are my headphones.
Yeah. In fact, the ones I fell in love with are the original ones, the MH40s.
That's what I still got.
Yeah, the spectrums on them, and like I keep threatening the CEO, who's always wonderful to us and shares the headphones with us, and we use them on the show all the time. I keep telling him, I'm like, this is the spectrum out of all your headphones. I love the best. Please don't ever change these. And I can hear through high quality music, I can hear the different things, and I can isolate them. So if I want to focus in on that snare, if I want to focus in on the keyboards or whatever, the layers and design that he put in them are amazing. And they're only like $249, I think, now is the price range. I think when I first started getting into there, like $400 or $500.
Yeah.
And
I think it's one of the best values in headphones.
For the price, the price point, holy crap!
Or you can build like a tank.
Yeah. And what was funny was the original ones around here somewhere. I had the original ones, and I had them for like 6 or 7 years, and I was still wearing them. And I think the acid from my skin had peeled off some of the glue. And so I wrote him and I said, hey man, can we get these replaced? And he's like, yeah, we'll look you up. He's like, those are still going? Same thing with Vonatu. I don't know if you're familiar with Vonatu speakers, but we ran the Vonatu speakers for like 7 years, and then they came us a new ones. And we went, hey, can you send those? And they're like, are those still running for you? And I'm like, yeah, man, they're run like charms. But you can hear the quality, and it's so important. And if you're a real audiophile or you just enjoy good music, I would say, you need to check this stuff out. You need to learn this stuff. I mean, really, what we should have done was got Neil Young to come on here and start screaming about MP3s. Remember that back in the day?
Neil's actually a big fan of Qobuz. We're
Is he?
good
Yeah, oh, that's right. He pulled everything off a Tidal, right? And put on you guys.
Yeah. Neil he's a neat guy, but yeah, he's probably the one artist that has advocated for high res more than anybody else. Even when Pono went away, when that was a kind of a disaster ending, it wasn't like he was doing this just to sell Pono. He continued the whole high resolution thing, and so he's a real believer. Great guy. We had Phil Baker, his CO on the show not too long ago. Really, really neat guy.
Yeah. This guy, he makes great music. And when you put as much work and love and sweat and toil into making great music, I'm a Neil Young fan. I'm sure you are. You want people to listen to the purest form. You don't want them to listen to your sound out of a garbage can. And so
listen to Neil Young live at Massey Hall. He did that in 1971. He was 22 years old and is one of the most awe-inspiring recordings that you will ever hear. But all Neil's stuff has always sounded great. He was a real stickler for being in the studio, helping the engineers, letting them know exactly what he wanted. And you could imagine Neil. He's probably not a hold back kind of a guy. He's probably going to tell you what he thinks, right?
Yeah, I was trying to get Bill to tell me some of the stories of the shenanigans of Donald Fagen and what's his face from Steely Dan, and he's like, yeah, I don't kiss and tell. I'm not gonna tell you the stories. I'm like, come on, man, I want to hear the stories. Because he's like, yeah, there was always up to something. You would get sick of them because they'd be they're tricking people and messing with things and mucking about.
Some of the best stories. If you guys aren't familiar with it, I think Chris did a show with Bill. He's got a book called Chairman at the Board, and it talk about a page turner.
Oh God,
you just can't put it down. It's like one cool story after another.
Yeah. He's got probably more he could tell. And I said, you need to write a book that's a tell-all. Like, I want to know all the dirty secrets between Barbara Streisand that you recorded for, Whitney Houston. He was the first on the first Whitney Houston album, and then the Bodyguard. And so many great things. I think I asked him on the show. So who was what was her You're So Vain, that big artist that was one of Carly Simon, and we just had so much fun. Like I couldn't even do an hour show. I was going through his library on his wiki. I'm just like, oh my God, where do we start and where do we end? Like, it's just like pinch me. And so his stories, just I wish he'd tell them all. But I really encourage people to get to know you guys. The sad part is with big marketing and big dollars and stuff, you guys are that underdog that kind of just goes, hey, we're putting out high quality stuff and we're just going to do our thing over here. And you should probably come try us out and whatever. It's so important that people understand some of these different marketing spins around the market, like Spatial. And, I can take a 1644 file, which is, kind of, it's a 360 TV, 720 maybe. And I can run it through an EQ, an equalizer, 24, 12, take your pick. And I can make it sound a lot better, but I'm manipulating the sound, but I'm still sourcing from a low quality file, really, when it comes down to it. But why? Why don't you just go get a really good file? And then if you want to EQ that up, well, then you can do that too if you're really into that. But you're probably going to start
that's the way we think about it, and certainly hope you guys decide to join us at Qobuz. And the main thing is, and I mean this sincerely, whatever music service you end up choosing, just have a great time. To me, it's not something to to throw a stake in the earth and fight about. It's just have a good time.
Yeah.
It's
Well, you
the
guys don't have to fight. You guys deliver the highest quality. So you're just like, well, we're here. You whatever if you want to come around. But yeah, I really think people, if you really love music, if you're a young person nowadays, you want the highest quality music. It makes all the difference, I promise you. And you don't even have to have expensive headphones. Like I've had people say to me, well, you probably have to have like $500 headphones, Chris, to really hear the sound quality. No, man. I can tell. I can probably tell across Bluetooth, although I don't spend a lot of time trying. But it makes a difference. And if you really love music, you really love great sound, or if you're just paying for something, I mean, if you could pay the same price for chopped liver or for prime rib, which would you rather have? I mean, maybe there's somebody like who really likes chopped liver, like my dogs or something. But I'm sure my dogs would go for prime rib too. So get the highest quality you want, but learn some of these different things. What is lossless? What are FLAC files? MQA was something I got into and looked at. But when you understand, the software that has to be involved, and there's a folding, and there is a bit of loss, I believe, in MQA, if I understand. I think they claim there's not, but there has to be. You can't fold and unfold without having loss. I mean, or I don't know.
You kind of can. FLAC is folding and unfolding without loss,
Oh,
it MQA they've got a little different process. Bob's a brilliant guy. It's not really my thing, but it's another thing to have to choose between. Some
one
people
of
really swear by it, but
yeah.
yeah.
I thought I did at first because I'm like, this is really cool. I like this, and so I started really comparing your guys' thing. One thing I want to give a shout out to, and I think they've been on your show, is Rune Labs, and Rune's been on your
Yeah.
show talking about their stuff. We want to get Sonos in after this too, by the way, because you guys have an edge that no one has with them. But with Rune Labs, you can load up, the title, and you can load up Qobuz. You can see the differences, and if you've got a good MQA decoder, you can get some from IFI Audio. I'll plug them again. But you want a good decoder. There's two different types. There's a decoder, I think, and there's a something else. I have two ones, and they do two different things. One does only unfolds two parts of the
Oh
three,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
one does all three. But you can go in and you can compare these files side by side. And the beautiful thing about Rune Labs and the Rune system is it makes sure that you have the drivers. The IFI will make sure you have the drivers so that you're getting that bit perfect thing all through your system. It's going to come out the other side. And of course, you want to go into your sound settings and the thing. But let's talk about Sonos, because Sonos has got a thing with you guys that's really unique. And a lot of my tech friends, they love Sonos. I'm kind of a big fan about Blue Sound. But Sonos is also good. We've reviewed them on the Chris Voss Show.
Yeah, I like them. I've got them both. I've got a Node right in my studio, right next to my drums, and
Hmm.
then I've got I think like 7 zones of Sonos because I've been dealing with Sonos.
Yeah.
They were the first. So in like my kitchen with the speakers way up and my bathroom and different places like that on my back porch. Got a lot of Sonos around. When I want to step up, I start going with Blue Sound or I've got a Pi in here that's really cool and
Mhm.
something that you are going to absolutely love. I just got this in. I haven't even had a chance to hook it up. But this company is just incredibly cool. They're called Hi-Fi Rose. Have you seen those?
Pull it up. It's kind of dinging a bell, but I'm not really
Yeah,
sure.
man, really, really cool stuff. It's like an amplifier, integrated amplifier with a streamer built in, but the streamer screen is like
Oh yeah,
almost
yeah.
as long and wide as the whole unit, and it's all touch screen. So I'm really looking forward to whipping that out. I got a couple Martin Logan Motion 40s upstairs that I'm gonna hook that up to. So you've just got like this whole all-in-one system, right? It's like all you
Mhm.
need to repair our pair of speakers. I'm looking
So
forward to trying that out.
so what's the deal with you guys and Sonos that makes it so special?
The thing about Sonos is we're the first people to offer high resolution on Sonos, up to 2448. So I mean, it just makes it sound better. Here's the deal with most Sonos users. Like 95% of them, they're all dealing with MP3. Almost everybody on Sonos is listening to 320 kilobits and below.
And
They don't
they're
even
buying
know.
these expensive speakers.
Well, kind of, except they don't even know that their system, Sonos has always been able to do 1644.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, when I was starting with Sonos, I would burn all my CDs into a hard drive and then play them back through Sonos 1644 as opposed to compress them like
Yeah.
so many of the other services are. But they're fed. That's a terrific little setup if you're not interested in super high res stuff. But your Sonos stuff, if it's Series 2, what do they call it? It's not Series 2.
That's Sonos?
Yeah, it's
I'm
the
not
newest
sure.
variation. I can't remember.
I
Gen
haven't
2.
gotten their newest ones yet. I think
That'll
we
do
got one
all the way up
last
to
year.
2448. So yeah,
Yeah.
we're offering the best sound on Sonos that Sonos can possibly deliver, and it
So here's
sounds
the sales
great.
pitch. I mean, if you really want to enjoy your Sonos speakers, you've got to have Qobuz.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're dealing with some of their lower end speakers, then it just honestly,
Yeah.
it,
So Dolby Atmos, and that's one thing that Sonos added. In fact, I've got to make contact with them to get another unit. I think we got a review unit out of them about a year or so ago, right before the coronavirus.
yeah.
Is Dolby Atmos that's another thing that's been running around with the spatial conversation. How really good of that is, I have it on my computer. It's noticeable if I use it with like games that run Dolby
Oh yeah,
Atmos, but
you gotta have it.
yeah, to me, it is still a bit of an equalization. Am I wrong, or where am I?
No, it's not equalization.
Okay.
It's literally sounds recorded from on their like Atmos. They literally record things back here that are back there. That
Okay.
all comes from the Foley experience. You know about Foley Studios, right?
No.
Like nothing in movies is real. Nothing.
Really?
If you hear a car door slam, it is not
Oh,
that
you're
car
talking.
door
Yeah.
slamming.
Okay.
If
Those are
you
the
hear
guys
somebody
who they
walking
make the
across
sounds and they.
gravel, they're
Yeah.
not walking across gravel. Someone
Yeah.
else is. They're recording that, right? So
Yeah.
movies are totally different and not real time performance like music
Hmm.
is, right? So for movies, for games, for things like that, man, God, the Atmos thing is like way cool. But in music, if you throw a pair of bongos over my right ear, I'm going to throw something at you. That's not where the bongos belong. They belong in front of me. I
Yeah.
want to be up close and personal with the performance, but I don't want to be in the middle of the band. That's
Yeah.
not realistic. It's crazy. And that's the way, from my experience, that's the way about 90% of the stuff is mixed. The engineers don't have any clue how to really mix this. It's mixed
Hmm.
terribly, and nothing really, to me, sounds real. Not music wise. That's totally different than if I'm watching, you know, some kind of an action adventure, and I've got helicopters flying over my head, and bullets whizzing past my shoulders. It's a different thing.
It's great for movies and gaming, but it's not the purity of sound for music
It's
because
not
that's not the
my
way music
thing.
was recorded.
It's not my thing, but just like quad,
Yeah.
it's gonna take a whole lot of people, and they'll go, hey, wow, I really dig this. Hey, what would happen, Chris, if all of a sudden they started mixing correctly, mixing music correctly with Dolby Atmos? No telling what's going to happen in the future, but if it were me doing the mixing, I would be going more for an ambience rather than direct sounds. So if you're listening to an orchestra, let's
Hmm.
say, right, you're in a room, there's all kinds of reflections that are happening behind you. So if you could capture those reflections and that decay of those reflections the same way the room does, and it's actually in high resolution, who knows, maybe that's going to sound incredible. I understand Steve Wilson is doing some stuff that sounds pretty good. I'm really interested in hearing it because I haven't heard any of his stuff, but I'm a huge fan.
Hmm.
So there's no telling where it's going to go in the future. I'm
Well,
sure it's going to get better because it can.
isn't the problem though? I mean, it's got to be recorded for Dolby Atmos decoding. Steely Dan didn't record in Dolby Atmos,
Nope.
right? So what
So
am I
it's all
getting if I'm listening
so
to
all of
Steely
that was
Dan through
processed.
Dolby Atmos system?
Yeah, yeah. Now what will it do? It will make it sound swirly, and you'll get some stuff back here. Another thing it'll do is defocus your center, right? So if Donald Fagen is singing just right of stage, and
Hmm.
that's where they've got him panned. That's what it's exactly what it's going to sound like, right?
Hmm.
Um, and he is there, and it should be an absolute pinpoint where it is. You should be able to point at this guy, as opposed to now you've got all of this swirly stuff, and now Donald Fagen doesn't really sound like it's coming from here. It kind of sounds like it's coming from here, right? Well, my
Yeah.
mouth isn't that big. My mouth is that big, and that's the way I want to hear it.
There was something I listened to the other day, and I never ever heard it before. And this is the thing I've loved about how all these different companies you've introduced me to over the years and higher quality is just more and more I hear sound that I've never heard before.
Yeah, don't you love that?
Um, yeah, it's just beautiful. Like, and I've listened to, like, tracks like Steely Dan and Rush. I probably listened to them 10 billion times, and to get on Qobuz and hook up a beautiful DAC, and some, not too over expensive headphones, and really listen to them. I mean, I've heard stuff I've never heard before. The other day, I don't know who it was. I think it was Dire Straits or Mark Knopfler. It might have been something off. It might have been Sultans of Swing, but I literally, for the first time, I realized there was two different guitar tracks playing, and they had one on each channel on each ear, and I never made that distinction until I started looking at my files and upgrading, because I went through Rune, I went through your guys' stuff, and I threw out my old crap that I had from CDs, that I burned off. And so I was going through this stuff, and I don't remember which track it was. I'm pretty sure it's the Dire Straits, but I never heard that there was two guitar parts. Normally when I would hear them, they would be overlaid, and so they would come at you straight as one, or as a blended thing. But for the first time, I heard, one was in one ear, one was in the other, and I'm like, holy crap! And I mean, you just hear stuff that you're just blown away, and you just go, oh wow! For the first time, like you guys, between you guys, Rune and IFI Audio, you guys made me fall in love with my music all over again, because I just
Oh, that's
played
great.
it in the ground, and so
That
now I
is
love it.
always so nice to hear. I
Oh,
cannot
dude.
tell you
And you're
that
talking, I've been doing that for 40 years or 50 years listening to music. So,
there's nothing that I would rather hear more.
yeah,
Uh, it's certainly that way with so many people
yeah.
yeah, I hear that all the time. I'm just rediscovering my music, or I'm getting to hear all of this new killer music that's coming out, or I hate the new music. I'm just going to play mine, or
Yeah, I mean, and getting it in the high resolution, you've brought all that forward and out, not forward in the sound spectrum stage, but like, I can hear the timbales, I can hear little touches, I can hear, maybe someone tinging the what I'm talking about, the little
so I've
teeny
got
sound.
one for you. You'll have
Yeah.
to do this one, at some point when you have a chance. But Dan Macta and myself, he's our managing director and just all around great guy, super music lover. We sat down. We were at a store uh, before the pandemic, and I'm going. I just want you to hear something. We sat down, and it was about $100,000 system. I won't even tell you what it was. We sat down, and I put on the Low Spark of High Hill Boys, Traffic.
Oh, yeah.
And we were sitting there. It's the first time we either one of us had heard that particular album on Qobuz through a system like this. And we were going, I didn't even know that was there. I've
Yeah.
never heard that, whatever that thing was before. Maybe it's a harmonic or something, but it's like I'd never heard that thing before. And we were just bug. So we sit down in the middle of the showroom. It wasn't in the middle of a showroom. It was in a room, but we kind of sort of occupied the room for the next hour and a half, just sitting down, listening to stuff on this album that we had never really heard before.
Yeah, and it's like you guys have just taken my music and just brought it forward. And of course, for a lot of years, I just had the old crap files. The first thing I did was I had the CDs, and a lot of people don't realize when the albums first came out, they would have to, they'd have to EQ and manipulate the albums to get the sound onto the wax platters.
Every album.
Yeah, and they literally took that same spectrum. when CDs first came out, and they marketed them like, hey, this will be, much better and higher. I don't remember if they marketed them as higher resolution, but they were like, it's better. There's more data that can go on them. But they literally just took, for the first run for, 10, 12 years, they literally just took those messed up EQ files that they had saved off the LPs or jacked down for the LP and just threw them on the CD. And then eventually they had to come out with the remasters and stuff. But learning about all this stuff is really important because it is like night and day. Like some of our friends that I've been talking to online, I'm going to be taking my laptop up with them with my Qobuz and my DAC and my, not overly expensive headphones. And it's going to be like night and day. Like night and day between the two, because I can hear it.
Wait to hear the report.
Yeah, and I have tinnitus.
That's why Chris and I are actually on this whole.
Dude, I'm going to film it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to film it.
Chris and I were on this thread together, and this is where this whole live stream came from. We're going, we really just kind of need to dispel some myths. No, Bluetooth is resolution, and it's okay to like what you like. That's the one thing that kind of bothers me more than anything else. I don't care if you like our service or whoever's service. It's like there's not a fight. There shouldn't be a fight. I just don't get that.
I think there should be a fight. You can play nice. I'm not going to play nice. I make shifts for high-res music.
Better than the ribeye, and I will kick your ass if you say otherwise.
Well, that's a flavor thing. I mean, this is a difference between a prime rib and I don't know, some roadkill or something you find on the road. That's what this difference is.
Saying that.
Dude, you can hear the sound.
We're the prime rib.
And I really encourage people, like, do your research. Don't believe us. Go sign up for a test drive of Qobuz. Start Googling, what does lossless mean? What does bit perfect mean? What is 1644? Why is this important? And then do the A/B testing. Take two of the files, compare them. And you don't even have to have an expensive set of headphones. You don't have to have a 18, 16, 2400 DAC. I don't know how much this, I think it's $2,000 DAC. You don't. You can hear it. It's like trash can music to beautiful music. And you know what? The artist will thank you too, because the artist doesn't want you. They work so hard for that stuff, like Neil Young. I should put a cut in here where he's like, MP3 sorry, Neil Young, my bad. But yeah, I remember him barking about that on Pono. Is there anything more you want to plug out on Qobuz so we can get people to quit subscribing to these other services?
Nah, come on over.
Check us out. It's 30 days free. What do you have to lose?
It's free. I will say that we if you are into this thing and you want to be in a community that loves music just as much as you do, when you hop on Qobuz, if you like it, join us at Streaming Music Matters on Facebook. That's my fanboy page of Qobuz, but it's not all about Qobuz. I put out all kinds of articles and pictures. We share a lot of music together, and then we answer a lot of questions as well. So hop over and join us. We're there for you. And I actually enjoy it. I love the back and forth with the people that want to talk music or DAX or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. But yeah, it's just it's fun. Come join us. We have a good time over there.
Yeah, I love it too. It's good to swim in that pool of stuff. Literally, I'm not kidding you. I mean, I probably should have started the show with this, but literally after 40 years of playing ad nauseum, Steely Dan, Metallica, Rush, which are some of my top bands, Journey, I think would be a fourth. And all my music, I mean, I played it all, and I'm one of those guys that I'm still stuck in that whatever era I am. I remember the models used to come over to my house when I had my modeling agency, and they'd look at my CD collection of like 4,000 CDs, and they go, "You're a butt rocker, aren't you?" Which I guess refers to the long hair from the 90s, like Cinderella and stuff. And when they first told me that, I was like, what the hell? But, I'm still stuck in that era, and I'm proud of it, darn it. Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix. So Jimi Hendrix was a god. Stevie Ray Vaughan, you name it. So, even going back to Muddy Waters and some of those guys, the way sadly, they didn't have really high quality recording stuff, but the fact that they put out such beautiful music with what they had is just incredible. So I encourage everyone to go learn, go see what's going on. Don't buy the marketing hype and spin of anyone. Go back and learn. And the beautiful part about Qobuz is you can go on, you can see different albums that were recorded with different resolutions, and you can compare them and compare apples. Do an A/B test. And if you're going to pay for something, get the best. I mean, it's like you're like, so you want 30,000 for that Mercedes, or I can give you 30,000 for that Yugo over there. Get the Mercedes. Don't be a sucker. Anyway, so that is that. So give us your plugs, David, where people can find Qobuz on the interwebs.
Qobuz.com, and that's where we are on all social. And I'm at Streaming Music Matters and Qobuz Social. So come on over and join us if you want to hear what we're all about. I think you'll like it.
There you go. As Neil Young would say, keep on rocking in a free world. That's my favorite Neil Young track of all time. The live version, which is really raw. Yeah. That's my favorite Neil Young. Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in. We've seen a lot of people on LinkedIn saying hello. So be sure to check them out, guys. I love Qobuz. They're just wonderful. They have all the great stuff too that all the other services have, where they serve you playlists and different things. You like soul music or blues. They got all that stuff there. So check them out, and then join David's Facebook group. You can ask questions, learn stuff. Enjoy your music and all that good stuff. Go to youtube.com/Chris Voss. You can follow us over there. Go to all the groups we have in LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. There's so many different groups and companies and it's crap we do over there. It's crazy. Also go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss. Thanks to my great friend David for coming on the show today. We certainly appreciate you, David. Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me, Chris.
There you go. Thanks, guys. Check it out. There'll be a link on the Chris Voss Show, so you can click to sign up for Qobuz and check him out. All that good stuff. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.